Okay, hi everybody. Hello. It's been a long day. Thanks for staying so long. It's gonna be difficult to wake up at this time of the day. Unluckily, we are gonna talk about security and cryptography, and I like that attitude. I like that. We're gonna need some Lucas power to. I'm not a singer, so I will just use my crypto powers today. So anyway, thanks for being here. My name is Matias. I'm the other Matias written with a T, without an H. I think in the whole audience, but I'm not the guy who presented before, of course. I'm the CTO and founder of auth. And with me is this guy who you already know.
Hey again. Did you guys miss me? If you didn't follow me on Twitter, you can do it now.
We are collecting followers. Yeah, and he's the developer advocate at auth. As you can notice from the title of the talk, who is a little bit sensationalist. So auth it's a service. It's a set of tools and APIs that helps you with authentication, authorization, and single sign-on. The whole idea is basically that you don't have to worry about implementing that and spending weeks on implementing something that is not really the core business of your application, and go and enjoy a beer or something instead, or a glass of wine, why not? So what we are going to talk about today, this is the real thing, actually the real title of the talk. He wanted to put this maximum security prison stuff and whatever, Breaking Bad. So it's going to be about doing authentication for modern applications. The applications that you guys are writing today, AngularJS with multiple front ends, APIs, and whatnot. And we are going to use, we're going to show how to use tokens to implement such architecture. So the talk is going to be separated in two parts. First one, I'm going to do the chit chat. Why something like this is needed today, or why it makes sense today and it didn't make such sense maybe in the last 5 years. And then Gonto is going to do some live coding for you all, which we're going to show how to do it from scratch, how to implement token-based authentication on an AngularJS application from scratch. And we are going to announce two libraries that we open sourced. One is Angular Storage, which is a little shim that provides, it's the local storage library that you can put state on the browser, and it uses local storage or session storage if it's available, or it uses cookies, client-side cookies if not. And then Angular JWT, which is a library to manage all the JSON Web Token, everything around JSON Web Tokens. So let's start by looking a little, going back a little bit on time and how we've been doing applications in the last, 10 years, web applications. The thing is that you have a browser and you have a web server. And the way that authentication works in this context is basically the user enters an email and password, and it's an HTTP post. The web server validates that the user exists. If the user is valid, the password is valid, whatever. And it either creates a session or some state in the server, then returns a cookie that with session ID or whatnot. And after that happens, then every request that goes to the server will go with this cookie, right? So this is cookies 101. So the thing is, this has been working well, and it will keep working, of course. But the whole idea, or what we are trying to propose here, is that there is a new way to approach this problem that it's a little bit more, I would say, decoupled, and hence a better architecture, I would say. And the reason why this is better is also because the way we write applications also changed, right? So Lucas was talking about Firebase today, which is a real-time backend thing, which it didn't exist before. We have services, APIs all over that we use. we can either write a real-time server ourselves using Socket.io. And what happens when you have something like that is that there is no anymore just the browser and the web server written in a single language. There is something else there that we need to have the user context authenticated there. So there is no, so the cookies that have been used to authenticate the user in that web server can't be used to authenticate the user in a Socket.io server or a Firebase server or I don't know, any other PHP or whatever technology, because they are coupled to the web framework, right? If you ever had to do a migration of a Java server to a Node.js server, one of the things that you had to deal with is, okay, so what do I do with the login of the user? You cannot share the session easily between those, right? The second thing is, so today, and this is the main reason we are all here, we are writing applications that are more and more heavy on the client side. All the logic is in JavaScript or in phones, and then we consume APIs that have the server-side logic. And that's another thing that, another piece that we need to have taken care of the authentication. The problem with that is that, again, there is no flow of the user between all that. And you must be familiar with this. So you probably have your AngularJS app deployed to the CDN, right? And which is something completely static. And then you have the API server in another domain. And you have to deal with cookies in that context and cores and whatnot. It's kind of a nightmare. Of course, it's a nightmare. Yeah. Yeah. HTTPS, cores, cookies, you lost probably a week on that. So APIs don't use cookies. In addition to that, more and more we are consuming APIs. It's kind of a mashup of things. Our applications are composed of things, right? An API that consumes another API, and the web server that consumes that other API, and the Socket.io consuming that other API. So it's all interconnected. And what you want, here is another piece in the puzzle. And what you want is that the user authentication and the context flows around all these different components of your system, right? And the fact is that cookies don't flow. They were built with the idea that you have a web server and a browser, and that's it, right? And systems today are built differently. So a better approach to this, what we think is a better approach to this, is using token-based authentication. In particular, there is an implementation that has been really interesting, which is called JSON Web Tokens. And I'll show you a little bit how it works.
I'm the assistant here.
So here is a little website that we created called jwt.io. It's a useful debugger thing. And I will show you exactly, let's see. This is OK, size is OK? Yeah. I can make it a little bigger, maybe. Oops.
You want me to make it bigger?
Yeah. OK. It's not my Mac. He has. Thanks, dear. So here is, let me present to you a JSON Web Token. And here is the main difference with a cookie. So usually a cookie is just an session ID or something. It's not something that you can understand. Right? Its state is on the server or somewhere else. In contrast, the JSON Web Token has 3 pieces. The first one is in green. It's the header. The second one is the payload, which is in blue. And then the signature. So JSON Web Tokens it's basically a piece of JSON, which is the body here, that has information about the user, like an ID, a username, roles, when this token expires. And it's signed with a certain algorithm called, and in this case, this is part of the header, what algorithm is going to be used to sign this token, in this case, HMAC SHA-256. And the way the signature is calculated is like this. So you first do a base64 URL encode of the header. So this piece, you grab it, you do base64 URL encode. You concatenate with a dot, and then you do the same with the payload. Now you have a string, right? Header dot body, all in base64, which is all this thing here. And then you do hmax SHA-256 with a secret. Okay? That's something that is calculated on the server, where you have the secret. Of course, the secret cannot go into the client. And that token is then stored somewhere in the client in local storage, and that's why the project that we are going to show, that Gonto is going to show. Once you have that token, then every time you call an API, you send this thing in the authorization header, and the server can do the reverse operation. It will grab this part. It will calculate the hmax SHA-256 with the same secret that was used before to generate that token. And it should be the same as this one. And afterwards, it will decode this thing, and you get the information of the user. That's pretty much it. It's simple. So let's do some live coding with Gonto now. Let's stop the talk.
So are you ready for some live coding? Awesome. I'm not, so let's see if it works. Let's hope that no console error and nothing happens, but it probably will. So I've done an example, actually. It's in our GitHub. It's in Auth0's GitHub. I would show you the README, but the Wi-Fi isn't working. But in the README, you will see that every step that I'm doing right now, it's in a different branch. So you'll be able to move branch by branch and see what we've been doing. So let's start with a basic step with a basic sample. Right now, I have a backend made with Node.js. So let's start it. And then my client side is AngularJS, of course. So let's just serve it and see what we have right now. So this is what we have right now. As you can see, I have very good designer skills. And I didn't use Angular material, which I should. So this is only Bootstrap with the Jumbotron. I actually thought it was called Hero Unit, but I think that's all. So what we have here are just two buttons. One is to call an anonymous API, and the other one is to call a secure API. So let's see what happens. So we're calling this anonymous API, and this basically returns random Chuck Norris phrases. So every time we click it, we get a new one. We have 50, so I can keep on clicking, and you will see a new one every time. However, if we now click on the call secure API, it is saying unauthorized error, no authorization header was found. That is because this secured API needs a token, and we're not sending that token. Again, that token needs to be sent in the header, on the authorization header. So the first thing that we're going to do is to make the login and sign up page so that we can create a new user. And basically what we're going to do is create the user in the front end, call the server. The server will save that user in the database. It's in-memory database, of course. And then it will create a JSON Web Token and answer it to the client. So let's actually open this in Sublime. And what we can see is that I have these login and sign up folders, and the login and JS and sign up JS are empty. And we do have the HTML, which is basically a username and password and a button, and the same for sign up. So let's first implement the sign up. What I'm going to do, as every developer, is find another thing that I've already done, copy and paste it, and modify it. So no starting from the beginning. I'm cheating. So this will be sign up. So thanks also to Sublime, I'm changing everything to sign up. And now let's just add a few caps. So here, and here, and here. So basically what we are doing is we're creating a new application, a new module for the sign up. We're setting here with UI router, Go UI router. We're setting here the new state called sign up. I need to set the URL here. And then we're assigning this controller. What this controller will do is actually just call our API and create the user. So what it will have is a sign up, which will be a function. And this function will actually use $HTTP. It will call to the URL, which is localhost 3001. And the API is /users. As you can see here, the implementation, well, now you can see it. As you can now see the implementation, what it's only doing is it's saving it into memory, and then it's responding to 2000 with the token, and the token uses, it's just creating a new token with the information without the password. That's all it's doing. So the endpoint is users, and what it's going to do is a post. And that should be it. So now what we're going to do is, here we're going to process the response. The response has a field called ID token, which is going to be the JSON web token. So what we're going to do right now is to actually save it into local storage so that then we can send it to the server in the other page. So for that, we're going to use what Matias told you guys about, which is Angular storage. It's basically a wrapper on top of local storage, and it uses either cookies or local storage, whatever is available. And also, it lets you save objects and not only plain text. So what we're going to do is store.set JWT, and we're going to say response.data.id token. Of course, we need to inject it first. And then if there's an error, just in case, because there's always errors, we're going to log it. Yeah. Okay. Mucho más grande. Okay. Sorry, Spanish. I have to increase the letter size. So, does anybody know how to increase the letter size in Sublime? Yeah, but I have the keyboard in Italian, sorry, and I don't know where is the plus. So,
Common plus, no?
Here maybe?
View, fíjate.
Build?
View.
Oh, view, sorry. And in here? It's not that easy. I mean, it has too many options. I don't like these many options. It's like hurting me.
Text, no.
Insert line before, no. Wrap, show completion.
Buscar en help.
Yeah.
Help, el spotlight.
Help. In here.
Ahí, help, escribí.
Sorry, this is like really complicated. Now I have an assistant.
Text.
I was a better assistant than you. I mean, I just did it. You have to search.
Yeah.
Zoom? Okay, I will zoom.
Pero esto tiene que andar, boludo.
Oh, that might be good.
You have to buy another keyboard.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Font size, let's put, I don't know, 24. Wow. Thank you.
Who said that? He got a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now,
Whatever.
going back to the error. So if we get an error, we're going to alert it. So let's do alert response.data. And with this, the sign-up should be done. However, we're still not sending anything. So we should send the information from the user. So let's say that we're going to send the user information. However, now we need to fill that user information. So let's just create this object and add ng models everywhere. So for the username, we're going to have an ng model, which is user.username. For the password, it's the same. It is user.password. And then for the extra information, which is just an extra field so that I can show you that there's more information that can be saved than in the JSON web token, it's going to be user.extra. And finally, the submit button is going to be an ng-click sign up, I think I called it. And that would be it. So now we have the sign up, and now it's even easier to copy and paste. So now let's copy here. And let's do login again. It's the login controller, sorry, and login here. And then now the API for this is, I think it's sessions create. Yeah. So I'm going to call sessions create, again with the user. And in case that the login is successful, again, I'm just saving the token. And again, I'm going to add the ng model binding. So ng model user.username. In here, it's ng model user.password. And finally, the button is ng-click equals login. So now let's come here. This is called login. And the final thing that I want to do is that when I successfully log in or sign up, I'm actually going to go to the home. So let's put $state.go home. And let's copy and paste. And I forgot to actually inject it. So let's inject $state. And now finally, this should be it. So I'm going to pray now that this works. No, I'm not buying you now. So let's try it out. Oh, there's one thing I forgot, which is adding the reference to the modules in here. So now I created sign up and login, I think. So of course it doesn't work. Oh, this one?
Nice.
Yeah.
Signa pusiste, boludo.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of NG.
Yeah, too many NG. Oh, but it's everywhere SingUp. Okay, it will be SingUp. We like SingUp now. And I think that this one is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, but this is this one. So let's try again. And it still doesn't work.
You injected the wrong module.
I injected where?
You injected in the main, you injected sign up, but you wrote the module SingUp.
Oh.
This is good. This is
Thank you.
multi-pair programming, right? It's,
Yeah. That's the problem with typos. Okay. Now it's working. Thank you.
an extra pair of eyes.
However, we haven't seen anything yet because this is the same that we had before. So let's actually go to sign up. And it doesn't work still. Oh, again, it's the same thing. OK, I'll respell it.
Sign up. Yeah.
Sign up. I am very, very typo friendly. Typos are, I'm very good with typos. OK, finally. So now we have this sign up page, which is horrible again. But at least we can create a user, hopefully now. So let's put here my username. Let's put a password. It's 1234, but shh. And then let's add some extra information, so extra something. I'm very original. Let's do submit. And apparently it worked. It's magic. So now what we can do is check in a local storage if something got saved. And now you can see that this JWT is in here. So let's actually copy it and paste it in here to see what we have. And now we can see that I have this username Gonto. I have this extra something, which is exactly what I just created. I have the ID number 2 because this is the second user. And you can see here the exact information. Also, you will see that it says invalid signature. And that's because in the server, I didn't sign this JWT with the secret. I signed it with another word, which I don't remember, but it's not this one. So now what we can do is we can try to actually do the login. So let's delete this local storage thing. And let's go now to the login page. So login page, again, very beautiful. And we can do mgonto1234, submit. And now I have this token again. And if I copy and paste it again, we will see that even though I just used like username and password, still the extra information that I saved is still shown here in the JWT.io and in the JSON Web Token. And that's because it's saved in the server, and when the server is creating this JSON Web Token, it uses the full user information. So now that we have this, let's try actually clicking this call secure API. And error again. It's saying no unauthorized header was found. And why is that? Because now we have the JSON Web Token stored in local storage, but we're still not sending it to the server. So what I'm going to do is to actually send this token to the server for every request. So for that, we could write our own $HTTP interceptor, like now. But we're going to use Angular JWT, which we created to help for this. So what we're going to do is to go to the app.js. We're going to depend here on Angular JWT. And in the config, we're going to inject the JWT interceptor provider. Is it written OK? And now I'm scared. And the HTTP provider. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that the JWT interceptor provider dot token getter, which is the function that will actually get the token from somewhere and return it. What it will do is actually get it from the store if it's available. So it will do return store.get JWT, and that's it. What this JWT interceptor is doing is it's getting the JSON Web Token from somewhere and then sending it to the server. And here I'm specifying that this is actually got from Angular storage. So now that we have this, we're going to add this to the list of interceptors from $HTTP.
I think you named the store variable user token, or is JWT?
No, JWT.
Okay.
I think. And now we refresh it, call secure API, and now we have a response. Finally. So what we can do now is actually try clicking on this call secure API again and see what's going on. So now, well, besides the course request, of course, we have this function. And if we, well, it won't be seen here because it's really small. Well, let's actually copy it. What you will see, this is what's seen in the Chrome developer tools, is that now there's this authorization header which says bearer and the token. And this is being sent to the server. And that token is sent so that the request that I'm doing is authenticated, and it is in this case. So what we can try now is, we know that this is working, so this is still working. So what we could do is actually change the token that we have here and try creating a new one, but with a different secret. So let's copy here, and now let's put my cool secret. Let's hope that I didn't put that in the server. So now this got created with that new secret that I've just written. And now let's come here and edit it. So now if I click on call secure API, it's still working. Awesome. So there we have. Now when we're calling the call secure API, it's saying unauthorized error, invalid signature. And that's because this token that I just created it with a different secret is not the same as in the server. So this is checking that this token was created by the server and not by somebody else. Now, the last thing that we could do, well, first, let's actually delete it. Let's actually delete what I added. What we can do now is, so this page that we're seeing here, this home page, is mostly for just showing to the user that is logged in. So we don't want to show this page if the user is not logged in. So for that, we can actually add something so that this is only seen when the user is logged in. One big difference between single-page apps and regular web apps is the concept of session. So in a regular web app, we know that if there's an object in the session, the user is logged in. However, what does it mean to be logged in a single-page app? It means to have that token in local storage. So it's stateless. There's no session. So to prevent users from actually coming to this page, what we need to do is to check that JSON Web Token if it's somewhere, and then if it's not there, redirect the user back to the home. However, if he sees the source code, he will be able to see this page. But as you have seen, even if he is able to see this page, he won't be able to call the APIs that he wants to, the malicious user, because he doesn't have the right JSON Web Token. So let's add that now. So what we're going to do is to actually do the run here in the application. And what we're going to do is inject $state, $scope, no. I need a store, and I think that's it. And what we're going to do, oh, and root scope. What we're going to do is to listen to a UI router state, which is called $state change start. And what this event is called before actually a root is changing. And in there, we can actually cancel that root change and go back to some other page. So that's what we're going to do. So if the user is not actually logged in, we're going to redirect him to the home. So what we're going to do is if2. If the state that we're moving to has information and it has a property called requires login, then we're going to check if the store has the JWT. If it doesn't have the JWT, we're going to cancel this move to that home page with, sorry, I'm checking for typos, with this e.prevent default, and then we're going to move to the home. And with this, it should just work. The only thing that we need to add now is in the home, we want to say, OK, this page actually requires login. And that's it. What we're going to do in most apps is to have two parent states. It's going to be authenticated states and unauthenticated states. And if in the authenticated parent state we set this data requires login true, it will be inherited by all other states. So let's try it out. I'm opening the console because I don't have faith in myself, but well, at least Chrome crashed this time. And it's not working. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So now, if the user is not logged in, he should go to login. That's a good point. So now, if I go to the home in here, I'm trying, it's redirecting me to login. However, now if I log in, and now refresh the home, it will let me be here. So now we've restricted access to these pages that need authentication for the users who are not actually logged in. The last thing that I want to show you is that once you have this token in your client, you can actually get the information from that token anywhere. So let's actually go to this home page. And what we're going to do is we're going to get in here, we're going to inject the store. And then we're going to do store.get JWT. Let's put it in .jwt. And $scope.decoded JWT equals. Sorry, I'm writing fast because we are running out of time. And we're going to use Angular JWT to actually decode this token, if it's available. This JWT helper is a service that comes with Angular JWT and lets you decode the token, and it also lets you check if it's expired or not. And now that we have this, let's actually refresh the page. And what you can see is, first, we can see here the token. And now let's actually show the decoded token. So let's come here, let's copy and paste. Let's copy and paste this one, and let's put here decoded token, or I think I called it like that. No, JWT, of course, it's not the same name. So now if I refresh the page, I get, let's put it nicer, type JSON. So now you get here like all the same information that I've just shown you in JWT.io. And with this, we're finishing the live coding example. I wasn't as good as Andrew. He had less errors, but well, we do what we can. So the only last thing that I wanted to show is this. So thank you very much. I know that we don't have time for questions because I was like, we are way out of time, but we have 5 t-shirts, we have Bitcoin cards and stickers to give away. So if you guys have any questions or want them, just come in and talk to us.
We'll be outside. Thank you.